sharing durian ASEAN.
ASEAN Dailies. First and foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Hey, this is Arlene.
Hello, this is Gowri.
First and foremost news from Southeast Asia, that's ASEAN Daily. So, Gowri.
Yes.
How have you been this morning?
Actually, I've been having a little indigestion problem. I think because I
Gowri.
keep skipping dinner every night, and now my stomach is confused when I actually have dinner. Like, wait, why am I getting food?
You better take care of your health because, or not, you probably would end up like Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong, although,
Prostate cancer.
with any kind of illness, not necessarily prostate cancer, which is linked.
Intestine cancer.
I don't want to say anything more than that. But yeah, just a bit of a good news about Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong from Singapore. Apparently his operation was a success. I'm happy for him, like, really.
Yeah, it seems that he did it in the Singapore General Hospital, and his lead urologist, Professor Christopher Cheng, said the surgery went very smoothly, and he's expected to recover fully, and he's gonna be back in action pretty soon.
And this is not the first time Prime Minister Lee actually suffered from an illness, a major one. In 1992, he actually had a lymphoma. And I mean, twice a success. That means he's a very lucky man.
And a very strong one too.
Yes, and the thing about prostate cancer is, like we discussed yesterday, it is mainly suffered by men. And of course, this is something that you cannot predict, nowadays with our modern lifestyle.
And prostate cancer is actually the third most common cancer among Singaporean men. But of course, it's also quite a leading cause among men in other parts of the world, even in Malaysia. And hopefully with what happened with PM Lee Hsien Loong, it'll be a wake-up call to other guys who think that, hey, this is not going to happen to me.
Probably, I hope that, Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong can hit our Movember campaign just to create more awareness.
Probably will.
Just to create more awareness on the prostate cancer. And one thing that I would like to highlight that I think also kudos to Singapore's hospital, because I think Singapore has one of the best medical center in the world, probably. Yeah,
and they took very good care of the Prime Minister, and he seems he's successfully recovering from the cancer.
That's true. So another news from Malaysia. Unfortunately, it's not really that positive. If you guys were active on social media yesterday, you would found a video that is currently circulating all over social media about three masked men with the Malaysian flag at the back, trying to threaten to ignite fireworks in the courthouse in Malaysia.
And this is a little crazy because these people are said to be self-proclaimed ISIS members. They just showed up out of nowhere, especially in line with our Anwar Ibrahim's arrest that happened, and they just came up and said, okay, we're not happy, and as members of ISIS, we are obliged to protest against this for human rights purposes and all, but they actually have nothing to do with what's going on in our country.
But this is really scary, Gowri, because whenever we think about ISIS, we always think that, they are so far away in the Middle East, they will not affect us at all. And all the Malaysians that went there, they are fighting there, not here. But when things become like just, in your backyard, it suddenly become like a reality, like a very scary reality. Can you imagine ISIS ideology being spread around the younger generation today? That means everything will be solved by, the tip of the knife, or, or guns, or even, by violence.
And this is happening in Petaling Jaya itself, which is really scary. Like you mentioned, it's happening in our own backyard. And they uploaded this video to an ISIS Malaysia 69 YouTube channel. And they were making some threats to Malaysia, of course, to the authorities. And they were also holding a very interesting photo.
Oh, it's actually a photo resemble the local actress Nora Danish. It must be really scary for her right now.
She said she was going to launch lodge a police report because she also came forward to say that she has nothing to do with this whole ISIS, and it was in a pretty huge shock that they actually got access to her photos, and they are using it for what reason we don't know, and she obviously doesn't know either.
And what's worse was one of the persons in the video was seen brandishing a Molotov cocktail, while 3 other petrol bombs were placed in the table in front of them. I hope that this is not serious. I hope this is just a joke, like a really dark joke.
A prank that they're trying to play on the government and to scare all of us, and hopefully it's nothing more than that.
Of course, a lot of people are questioning the judiciary system and how they handle Anwar Ibrahim, but is violence the case for the younger generation to go against the government, or should the younger generation reflect and maybe change from within? I mean, there are a lot of ways to create change, to spread positive mindset about what kind of change that we want. But definitely to me, putting on a mask and trying to scare people with ISIS inspired ideology is definitely not the way forward.
Absolutely. And even Anwar Ibrahim himself, before going to jail, he did give a speech, and he did tell people that this is not the end and you have to keep fighting although I'm inside. And that's quite sufficient for the people. No one is giving up on the fight. Those who felt like the judiciary system is not reliable, or they feel like they still want to go for that reformation, the change they want to see in Malaysia, they're still going for it. A lot of parties are quite vocal about it. So
even within both sides of the camp, they are quite vocal on the judiciary system, and it has nothing to do with partisan politics. It's more towards like how we can improve things from here and from now.
And for people to let people know that they can still rely on our judiciary system, that it's not as corrupt as we may think it is. And we don't really need any help from the outside to come in and to sort of make.
And I think probably another danger that Malaysian authority and also the Malaysian public needs to look beyond is most probably the younger generation in Malaysia. They are quite vulnerable towards extremist ideology, especially ISIS-inspired ideology, and could be multiple reasons for it. Partly because lack of education, partly because easy access to such information, and partly because that's the only way they can express themselves in terms of their dissatisfaction either towards the establishment or towards the reality of their lives with GST, high cost of living, and also with the kind of bleak future a lot of Malaysian young people are seeing themselves being caught in this country. I think a lot of reasons are piling towards or pushing the younger generation towards that form of extremist ideology.
And that is a very brutal reality that we all have to face, because if we go back to ISIS itself, the reason it came up was in response. It was a dissatisfaction among the people that they didn't like how the country was being run. They were tired of being oppressed all the time, being curbed in terms of freedom of expression, or being denied of their basic rights. So like what you just mentioned, with everything that's happening in the country right now, it could also spur more people to actually look for alternative sources to voice their dissatisfaction.
So anyway, we will take a short break. When we return, we will have more discussion on Southeast Asian news.
ASEAN Dailies. first and the foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Hey, this is Arlene.
Hello, this is Gowri.
And to continue our discussion, we are going to talk a lot about military. Let's first start with Thailand. So we all know Thailand has undergone military exercises despite U.S. concern.
And U.S. has actually called for the immediate end to the martial law, of course, and for them to return to the democratic rule. But it seems they are going ahead with their military training exercises.
They are so badass. I just want to say, extremely badass. As we all know, Southeast Asia is a very unique region because it's meshed between India, China, and of course there are Western interests towards this region as well. So situation like Thailand is pretty unique because the more militaristic the country has become, the more closer it is becoming an ally towards China. And this is the reason why the US are in particularly concerned, not just because of democracy, but also because of how its foreign policy would have changed in this case.
And it seems that U.S. Of course has a long history and they are a long-term friend of Thailand, but they have not been happy since the military coup happened, and they've been urging Thailand over and over again to actually return to their democratic rule. But Thailand has actually come forward to tell U.S. to stop meddling in their affairs, which of course we know that the U.S. likes to do a lot. Even Southeast Asia is no exception. And it says that they need this exercise. It's useful for their country and also to improve relationship building and to exchange experiences.
So it is actually a multinational drill, the military training exercise. And at the Royal Thai Navy Utapao Airfield, this year's exercise saw troops carrying out actually mock mass evacuation of Japanese, American, and Thai civilian. That's quite interesting.
It is, and they also said that if an actual operation comes up, humanitarian assistance or that kind of disaster relief scenario, they will have. They know that they have partners to help them. So that is also another purpose of this military training, to know that which countries are on standby to actually step in and offer a hand should anything come up in Thailand.
On the other side, which is the US side, according to Gregory Polling, an analyst from the Center for Strategic and International Studies in Washington, to him, he said that the US just wanted to send a nuanced message to Thailand. He said that it's one of still being a long-term friend of Thailand, which is the US. Their long-term ally, US long-term allies in Asia is definitely Thailand. But also at the same time, US is quite concerned and discontent with the coup. To them, that they want Thailand to be a democratic nation, especially a good example for Southeast Asia.
But why is U.S. getting so worried all of a sudden that about the military coup and about what's going on, the whole situation in Thailand?
I think U.S. has a moral duty towards the rest of the world. They always call the U.S. the police, the world's police, partly because freedom of expression has always been one of the core U.S. Foreign policy export. So when it form relationship with any countries, for example, the reason why it forms a relationship with Myanmar is because Myanmar is taking the steps towards becoming a more democratic nation. But besides freedom of expression, of course, we all know that it's important that US form greater allies with a lot of the countries in Southeast Asia. It has its TPPA going underway. And also it has a lot of its economic policy that it wants to form or to strengthen with its Southeast Asian allies.
Especially those allies who are pretty close to China as well. I guess that also worries them and intimidates them to a certain extent.
So besides, what is happening right now between the US and Thailand, just a bit of update on Thailand's economy. Apparently, Thailand's economy, which is quite worrisome to a lot of Thais, because since 2014 coup or protests, it's actually barely even growing.
It seems the officials say that Thailand's economy only grew 0.7% last year, especially the investments and exports declined very drastically after the coup happened in May. And this is a bit shocking as well, because every time we read something about General Prayut Chan-o-cha, he always gives a very positive feedback about the economy of Thailand. Like, yes, I'm doing a good job. I've planned this, planned that. The country is moving forward. It's growing under my watch. But that doesn't seem to be the case.
It's merely in rhetorics, I believe. You see, the problem is Thailand is not just another economy. It's the second biggest economy in Southeast Asia. And it was actually hoping to expand by 3.5 to 4.5% in 2015. But it doesn't seem like it's even growing more than 1%.
And another thing that they're suffering is also the decline of the number of tourists who are attending the country. It seems that compared to 2013, the number of tourists declined by 1.77 million people. And it's not only the people, not only the investors, even tourists are not really feeling good about Thailand anymore.
Gowri, what's Thailand tourism, what do you call it, motto or tagline?
I actually cannot remember.
It's amazing Thai, right?
Amazing Thai, yeah.
Yeah, so let's go to Thailand because it's amazing Thai.
Well, hopefully that convinces everyone out there.
I was trying my best. Good job. Anyway, another military country or military regime that is still very much trying to reform itself is Myanmar. But there's this one author, Adam P. McDonald from Canada. He wrote in the East Asia Forum, apparently to him, only the military can reform Myanmar. There's a view that is quite, quite common. A lot of people are thinking the same way. For Myanmar to transit towards democracy is actually more towards internal struggle, as in like reforming from within rather than having external pressure.
Exactly, because we keep talking about how Myanmar wants to reform and go for a more democratic system, but we always talk about sort of eliminating the whole military out of the picture and just have these other people coming in and to ensure the peace process. But he's giving a different perspective, as in instead of getting the military out of the entire administration, why don't they just change the way they work and make some just adapt to the changes that are coming, because essentially the military is actually a very important entity in the I would say administration of Myanmar.
You are definitely spot on. You see, the problem is they have been ruling Myanmar for so long. It's almost part of the institution, as in like in almost every level of institution, the military presence are there, and this is actually a problem, because you cannot just simply remove the military and expect people to be able to formulate their own policy, having a more people-centric institution. It doesn't work that way. So what they can do is to have gradual change from within rather than completely remove the military. The military should be working together with the civilian government. It can be the government of Do Aung San Suu Kyi, or it can be the other candidates or politicians. But the reality is, it cannot work on its own, the civilian government. It has to, at least for a few decades, it has to work together, or at least a decade, I give it, to work together with the military regime. Recent signing of the U.S. National Defense Authorizations Act for 2015, it will facilitate the gradual opening of military-to-military relations between the U.S. and Myanmar. So this is from the U.S. side. They are also seeing this as the gradual reform. They don't see the military regime as a threat anymore, but more like they want to work together to find a blueprint for democracy.
And Mr. McDonald will definitely agree with you on that one, because he feels like if it's like fighting fire with fire, and instead of trying to use something else to just put it out, why don't you get the military itself to actually change the way they work and support the reform measures that the country is trying to implement? Because at the end of the day, you were saying earlier as well, they've had the military rule for so long that it's become a part of the constitution, it's become part of the country. Even people in Myanmar are probably so used to having the military in charge.
I mean, just to give a statistic, a quarter of the parliamentarians in the parliament of Myanmar is dominated by the military, or people who want to be associated with the military. So ineffective, if you are against the military, you are only jeopardizing the pathway towards democracy in Myanmar.
And it seems that the withdrawal of the military politics will not actually guarantee a success for them to move towards democracy. So instead of withdrawing them, eliminating them completely, it's best to work together and to see how can each party understand and adapt to the reform measures that are being implemented in the country.
So another military regime, I won't say military regime, but a military force in the Philippines. It is actually seeking to kill coup rumors.
I think you must have shocked President Benigno Aquino for a while there when you said military regime in Philippines.
Yes.
And you'd be like, wait, what? When did this happen? So that's what we're going to talk about actually. It seems there are rumors that the military in Philippines are trying to come up with a coup and take over the government.
What's wrong with Southeast Asia and its military regime?
I think the military feels like it has more power and more capability to run the country.
Except for Malaysia and Singapore, maybe.
Yeah. So President Aquino has come forward to say that there is no such thing, Arlene. It's not happening. Although there are rumors, and also, of course, we had the shooting of the 44 police commandos, but he's saying that people are still loyal to him and to the current system of the country, and they are not having any military takeover.
I'm wiping my sweat on my forehead right now. I mean, not another military regime in Southeast Asia. How can you form ASEAN Economic Community and a people-centered ASEAN if every country is being dominated by a centralized regime and some more a military regime? I mean, we already have an ISIS-inspired threats in Southeast Asia. We don't need another military presence that would only jeopardize the democracy in this region.
And just to give a little background, it seems the military actually does have a long history of meddling with the democratic system in Philippines, starting from in between 1970s to 1980s. But of course,
under the dictator Ferdinand Marcos, of course.
That's right. But it hasn't happened since then. So hopefully it does not happen in the future as well, because like you mentioned, this is not what we want right now in Southeast Asia. We have so many plans for, in terms from the aspect of ASEAN, AEC, and this is not something that we are ready for.
And we need people like Benigno Aquino's mother. Do you know that his mother, Corazon, actually led a people-powered uprising in 1986 that saw the dictator flee to the US?
She's a very brave and capable woman.
That's like Auntie Bersih, right?
Auntie Bersih.
in the Malaysian context.
Yeah.
So we need more people-powered, not necessarily protest, but empowerment, more grassroots community empowerment. I think all over Southeast Asia, not just in the case of Corazon in the Philippines.
Of course.
Yeah. It's really sad regarding on the news of the 44 police commandos that were being perished on the recent news. But at the same time, hopefully it won't be another reason for a military regime in the Philippines, because I think a lot of people are criticizing the Filipino government's handling of the terrorists
But
in
it
the
seems
southern.
that President Aquino is still popular among the Filipinos. But yeah, like you mentioned, there are still criticisms and there are a lot of changes that he needs to make as well in the country. And hopefully this is also a wake-up call for him.
Mhm. So chill, have your hello. Anyway, we will take another short break. When we return, we will talk about ASEAN, or the organization that we are in now.
ASEAN Dailies. First and foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Hey, this is Arlene,
Hello, this is Gowri.
and we are going to talk about ASEAN. So
Yes.
Gowri, is there a lot of news about ASEAN lately?
There is. I don't know if it's very positive news or otherwise, but we have a couple of issues here.
A
to
couple of
share.
issues related to human rights, I think. Well, that's the thing, right? When it comes to ASEAN, it is very economic focused. Not that is anything wrong with that, but because it's very economic focused, the government's position on human rights is quite lacking. In this case, even the opposition leaders are criticizing Tan Sri Muhammad Shafi'i Abdullah for his recent appointment as the chairman of ASEAN Intergovernmental Commission on Human Rights, or in short form it will be called AICHR.
Yes, they also went ahead to call this move delusional for the public to hope that he can actually stand up to the BN government and face up to their human rights transgressions, because we have a very, very bad record when it comes to human rights. We probably don't even have to tell people. It's kind of a well-known fact. And when you elect someone for an intergovernmental organization, especially for human rights, you don't want to pick someone who people already seem as a biased person, or someone who is closely linked to the government. You want someone who can stand up to them.
But
and
that's
to
the
voice
thing.
it out.
It's called intergovernmental. It's not. It's not a commission. In a way, the government actually elects people within their institution to represent the interests of the people in Southeast Asia, or the people in their own nation. In this case, I don't think it's anything wrong for them to get Tan Sri Muhammad Shafi'i Abdullah, but I think what is wrong is the people of Malaysia has no say on it. But then the whole of ASEAN is an intergovernmental organization to begin with, but Pakatan reason for saying that just because he's part of the ruling party UMNO, and just because of that he is inappropriate to be appointed as part of a member of AICHR, I think it's a bit too much, isn't it?
It is, and also another reason is, of course, because of what happened with Anwar Ibrahim's sodomy case recently, that they feel like the people don't actually have faith in this guy, and if he had to actually fight for human rights, of course, the government elected him and all, but would he actually just justify the government's actions, or would he actually be capable to speak up and to get the things done in terms of human rights, improving the human rights record in Malaysia?
This is left to be seen, because at the end of the day, Shafi'i was actually nominated by the government, by Malaysian Foreign Affairs Ministry as Malaysia's representative to AICHR, not now, but actually since 2009. So only for them to only criticize it now shows that they are really, I'm not sure they are unhappy with him because he has close link with UMNO, or they are unhappy with him because he doesn't really represent the civil society, or they are unhappy with him because they are just being unhappy with him.
Because of what happened with Anwar. And it seems he's now also targeting Ambiga Srinivasan as well. So very controversial guy, and he is in charge of the ASEAN human rights now. So we'll have to see how that one goes.
Yeah, I mean, I found him to be a bit questionable when he said that he is willing to swear to Anwar's guilt in the mosque on Mecca. I'm like, is that even
necessary?
Yeah, just do your job. Let people judge you by your job. Anyway, that's all from us today. We will continue our news from Southeast Asia tomorrow.
So don't forget to follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and as always, listen to us on our website, durianasean.com.
Or tune in to your mobile on your TuneIn app.
Yes.